Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with the message for you. What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday. It's March 16th, 2026. 12:21 on the clock with that mirror number. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope the week's off to a good start. You're feeling good. Hope you're feeling good. I'm gonna just get right into it. We know that we have a lot of big energy coming up this week. We got Mercury going direct. Thank God. We got the new moon on the 18th. Is it the 18th? The 18th. And then we got the spring equinox on the 20th. So a lot of big change underway. If I could say anything might have been a preview in my shuffle, is just to hold on. You're almost there. You're almost there. It's like that last stretch. I guess I do have some. When I used to run in New York, I used to run. I ran Central Park later in my running career, so to speak. But the first park I started running was Prospect Park in Brooklyn when I lived in Brooklyn. And I used to run the whole park around, and it was like that. There was a certain point in my running where I had come to learn from the route that it was like the home stretch. And of course, that's also the time, a lot of times when you start to kind of lose a bit of steam. But the encouraging part was that I knew I was almost finished, so like clockwork until I really gained a lot of endurance. After some time, I would start to lose steam just a little bit, and the last stretch of that part of the run was on an incline. So that's actually the most significant part. So it's like the last stretch of it is on an incline, but the encouragement that would, really put some pep in my step and give me the burst of energy to make it through was that I knew just above that incline, I was pretty much at my finish line. So take that as it resonates. Hopefully, it's encouragement for you in this last stretch of this closing of the past year as we get ready for the cosmic new year, and even for spring, the closing of this winter season, which has been rough all around at least all around the nation, maybe not all around the globe, but perhaps all around the nation in many different ways. So keep up the good work, stay the course, let the universe push you through this last stretch, and just keep breathing. Just keep breathing. All right. Oop, that was the Six of Swords. Yeah, you're on your way. You're on your way. You're much farther along at this point, or much closer to your goal or your desired destination than you are far away from it. You've come a long distance at this point. So Death and the Two of Cups. Interesting. It's either the end of a commitment, maybe a breakup, or some type of detachment, or some type of agreement is getting transformed, or maybe renegotiated, or reestablished, like the terms may be changing in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. Let's see. That's an interesting combination. Let's see what else is with that. That was the the Fool card. Ten of Wands. Ooh, it could be a breakup. A breakup. Or the end of some type of connection or commitment. With the Knight of Pentacles. Well, it could just be old terms of agreement, and yeah, well, that makes sense. It could be, like I was saying, like just things coming to a close. And when I was pre-shuffling, this Knight of Pentacles kept coming up, kept popping up in different ways. So it's like something that's been a long time coming, a long time in the making, is finally on its way. And as I said, like sooner than you think and sooner than later, but it's just like really some things still closing out. It's really like that crossover point of, you know, you really have shut the door on some old things or some outdated things. Maybe old contracts have been completed, you know, maybe particularly traumatic ones or karmic ones have really come to a completion, and now it's time for this fresh energy to come in. And the one thing is about the Knight of Pentacles is that's the one night that, you know, is kind of a two-edged situation, because although it's the slowest moving night, it's also the most dependable. So like I said, it's been a bit of, you know, a challenge, the waiting period of in between this void of what was to what is now, you know, like where a lot of us are kind of in the void between those two places, with no clear, in many ways, you know, no clear perspective of, well, I'll say no guarantee of what the future holds or what the next presence of you shall be. But again, Knight of Pentacles is what you want to see, because it's going to be positive, it's going to be sustainable and dependable and reliable, whatever it is. Once you finally achieve it or it connects with you or meets you where you are, it'll be worth the wait ultimately. So if you maybe have experienced significant losses through this intense Mercury retrograde, or, you know, some of the other retrogrades and intensive transits that have been underway, there's something that is going to take the place of that loss that I think will be satisfying. Oh, that's way too much, but I'll look at it. Yeah, look at that. Exactly. And oh, it's speeding up. And I did see that too, like when I saw the Knight of Pentacles, and then I saw the Knight of Wands, which to me signified that it was moving kind of slowly, but it's eventually going to be, you know, sped up, or maybe something's being expedited, or a timeline that you were told about something, or that you projected yourself for something to occur. Maybe even the whole transition of the season itself, you know, being a significant point of reference to make as far as like things changing over. Maybe, you know, you may be looking ahead to the 18th, the 20th, or whatever. You know, not that anything necessarily has to happen on the date, on the nose. Even when Mercury turns around, it still needs some time to warm up and get out of the post shadow. However, the point I'm trying to make is maybe there is a projection of time that makes sense to you, but lo and behold, especially with the Eight of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, it could speed up in a very unnatural and unpredictable way, or maybe I'm hearing unprecedented way. And again, what I love that this is all leading with is the Ten of Cups. You know, that it's going to be fulfilling, more than satisfying. It's going to make you happy. Wait, let me shuffle a little bit since I know these are going to be at the bottom. All right, so let's see. Let me get one more on this little pile here. Magician, yeah, it's coming. You've already put in the work. You've already called it in. I'm sure hopefully you are already positioned for the reception of your creativity. And it's really just a matter of, at this point, you know, like this is that really weird point where you would want to overexert yourself and do more to maybe speed the process along, or to ensure some type of result. But it's that point in the transition where there's really not much you can do. You've already done enough, or you've done all that you can do, and now it's just really the time to just wait for the seeds you've planted to fully harvest, and which it already is. You know, like we know the growing and cultivating process is a slow one, but there's at some point in time you just gotta wait for things to break through, and maybe that's what some are waiting for, their breakthrough moment, or breakthrough from like a defining moment that signifies really truly breaking through from the past to, you know, this present time, you know, this more like a present moment, or, you know, breaking through, just leaving the past behind. You know, some parts of it may still kind of feel like they're dragging on you, or they're weighing on you, or trying to, you know, there's a delay, or something's being dragged on longer than maybe anticipated, or just longer than what's comfortable. But with the Magician card, it's like just restore your confirmation unto yourself, if nothing else, that everything is working according to the way that it should be. And you're doing what you need to do in the end line. Eight of Wands again, I saw it pop out. Four of Swords. Just gotta relax. Eight of Pentacles. Just keep your eye on the prize. Try maybe even keeping yourself busy or focused on things that you can be productive in, or that are productive, period. You know, don't let your mind be too idled, allowing yourself to conjure up alternative endings or impossibilities. You know, just stay focused. back out. That's crazy. Maybe you work from home, or there's some things you can do around the home that would bring more balance into your life, particularly to prepare for the spring season. Like spring cleaning, clear out some closets, maybe clear your car, particularly if you live where there's been a lot of snow. Getting in and out of the car can really mess up your floor mats, and maybe you haven't really washed off the last storm. For me, every time I wash my car from the salt and snow from the storm before, another one rolled in, so I actually haven't washed my car in a little while. So little things like that, again, can make you feel that it's not like necessarily tricking yourself, but that actually, like, almost nesting is actually what I'm getting the idea of now that I'm speaking on it. Like preparing for this influx, this inflow, this change, this transition, maybe to activate a transformation that's been underway, or to present yourself a certain type of way after this transformative season that we've come out of. It's like plenty more to be done, and ways to keep your mind and your hands busy while you wait. Again, spring cleaning, it doesn't have to be physical, but that's always a good place to start, in the actual home, or in your living space, or in your intimate spaces, particularly, which I am so guilty of. My closet, to me, is shameful right now, because I usually do a good job of like transitioning seasons out, putting things away, and then being present within the season that I was in. And I've been wanting to do a video about that, and I left my summer, mind you, we're almost in summer again, not too long. I still got summer stuff in my closet mixed in with my winter stuff, and it's really congested the space. But now I'm at the point where now I'm kind of in a holding space, because it's really kind of pointless to put my summer stuff away now, because most of that stuff will probably be being pulled out, especially with us spiking 70 plus degree days in the winter. Ain't no telling what spring is going to be. So at this point, I kind of like dropped the ball on that. But generally speaking, the first place that I start when I want to cleanse some energy is my wardrobe, my closet, starting with things that I can't fit, things that I haven't worn for 2 consecutive seasons, things that I don't really like anymore, or that have some type of attachment to another time, another memory, that energetically isn't really progressive or forwarding. So if you want to jumpstart that spring clean feeling, then a small way to start, perhaps depending on how big your wardrobe is, but I'll say an effective way, at least, to start is right in your closet. So let's see what else we got. Oh, look at this. Something is accelerating in a very positive way, advancing. Let's see, this could even be some information, but honestly, like I said, in those few cards that popped out, like something that has been seeming to take a long time, and maybe it's on account of, how intently you're watching for it, or how anxious or eager you may be. Perhaps if there is, some bit of release energetically on the outcome and the timing, and even the curiosity of it all, like what's it going to be, when's it going to be, because that could even be it, where you don't necessarily know what is on the other side. You may not even really have any particular prejudice about what it gets to be, as long as it's just fresh and new. And so there could be a curiosity there, that is insatiable in some ways, but like I said, a good way to kind of pivot your attention, is to invest in the things that, to really channel that energy into something that is presently productive. But there could be a really like a wave of, I don't know what that is. Like, it feels like a surge of maybe an upgrade to your home space, a surge of support, maybe enthusiasm, or just an energy upgrade. Oh, that could be it. Like a, what is that? Not an energy upgrade. What is the phrase used? Damn, I can't think of that word. But it's coming straight. Like, with the Eight of Wands has specific coordinates. Like it's not going to miss you. Whether, wherever you are, it's going to find its way to you. Some type of transfer, or incoming advancement is coming straight to where you are, whether that be your home, if you on the job, if you driving in your car. Like, at the exact moment when this upgrade is not the word, it's bothering me. Hold on. Let's see, energy. Oh my God, now they gotta be banging outside. Energy upgrade. I don't think this is what. Intense personal transformation, often making a shift to higher. Oh, okay. That's what I'm thinking of, but I had another term in my mind. But yeah, spiritual energy upgrades are periods of intense personal transformation, often making a shift to higher consciousness or some beliefs, or rewiring of the body to hold higher frequency of light. Higher frequency light. These upgrades commonly manifest as physical discomfort, such as fatigue, buzzing feelings, or dizziness, coupled with emotional releases, followed by stabilization. So you could be experiencing headaches, ringing in the ears, exhaustion. Emotionally, you may feel erratic, anxious, or experience a deep need for change. Okay, so we're going through an upgrade. I know that, hence where I even started the message about this transition of change. But yeah, rest and care, grounding, release and nourish, surrender. Those are the main suggestions for coping and staying balanced. Let me see if because I feel like that's still not the word that I was looking for, but all right, I'll just leave it at that. So it's something else. Maybe there's some type of solar flare energy going on as well. That is a more physical. is a more physical, yeah, as of mid-March 2026, the sun is experiencing high activity during solar cycle 25, frequently producing C-class and occasional M-class fit flares such as M27 flare on March 16th, so literally just today. Oh my gosh. Wow. Activity is high. Today, it was a flare today. Recent trends 13th to the 14th, the sun produced 13 notable flares. Oh my goodness. Previous activity, late January, early February was the last. So, like, we're literally in, that's so wow. We're literally in the, like in the, what do you call it? In the line of fire. Pretty much. So so there it is. Like, if you're all of that our bodies are harnessing and integrating, makes it that much more understandable how you may be feeling a certain urge that, you know, feels a bit more intensified than it usually does, you know. So just be gentle with yourself. That Four of Swords is significant to really allow yourself to rest where you absolutely feel you need to and where you can, without guilt and without too much pressure on yourself about it. And like I said, it really is that supercharge, that last ditch, not last ditch, because there are more to come, you know, as the planet is evolving and creation with it. But there's something that's really being activated. Like I said, these old covenants or old agreements that we submitted ourselves to and settled for, even, have needed to be completely eclipsed and released, so that we could be conducive for all of this high frequency energy, like I said, that's going to meet you where you are, no matter what you're doing at what particular time, whether you really want it or not. But it's your poise, you know, or your how you prepare yourself, and position yourself to receive, that is going to make all the difference as to how you integrate it. Because I feel like it could easily be conducted as more anxiety and more eagerness, or displaced passion, maybe even feel like some type of perverted or impure passion, if you're not aware of what it is you're actually experiencing. So much going on right now. I hear construction, I hear the trash truck. It's just started raining hard as hell out of nowhere. It's like, it's a lot. Overstimulation, that's what's happening. It's like you're feeling extremely overstimulated, and in some ways just not really knowing what to do with that energy. Because like I said, you feel like you want to kinetically release it by doing something, you know, just exercising it, maybe actually, but exercising that frequency out of your body, because it may feel a bit uncomfortable to contain it. But just harness it. Just harness it and lock it in. Let the supercharge happen, and there's going to be a moment of big release sooner than you think. just as soon as I get to that finish line and get to really like breathe without resistance, you know, it's like moving to a higher altitude or well, actually, I think that that doesn't really prove my point, but because I think you actually lose your quality, your breath quality or something like that when you go to higher altitudes. But maybe that's the thing. It's transforming our physical, spiritual, and mental beings to breathe. That's what it is, to like breathe on these elevated levels, you know, these ascended levels. Yeah. Interesting. Hold on. I feel like there's something more I could say about that, but let me get another one. Three of Pentacles. Three of Pentacles. It's like change, yeah, it's like changes to work and home, or just how to changes to your productivity is what I'm getting with this Three of Pentacles, and then coming from the Four of Wands. Maybe changes in how you stabilize, you know. Well, I kind of just said that these high frequency surges, so that you condition your being to this new normal. Yeah, okay. Where ultimately, yeah, like we're being conditioned to, this is so weird. How can I say this? There's like a reconditioning of I feel this, but I don't know how to say it. Your perspective of the human experience. So, all right, maybe I'm trying to bite off more than I can chew, because I'm seeing the different ways, but I wanted to like make one general statement. So like you're being reconditioned, your comfort levels are being reconditioned, maybe really being expanded to embrace more of life instead of less than. So having, you know, like I said, like settling for old contracts, that could be in what you expect to do to make a living, what you expect to be possible in terms of fortune or fate, in terms of your comfort in your actual home, or your comfort with yourself, like your own personal identity. There's like a blowout that's happening to almost like expand, let's say expand the chest cavity for whatever reason. Yeah, well, that makes sense with the Three of Swords, to be able to receive or intake more fortune. You know, like I don't know. I know I'm saying this terribly, because like for instance, maybe the things that you've been manifesting have, maybe for those particularly progressive, you know, your goals, your visions, your dreams are expansive, but there's something's being made room for, you know, like there like I said, this cleansing, this clearing out, this releasing, this spring cleaning, so to speak, is making room for new new covenants, new commitments to self, maybe perhaps, but also for your capacity to receive more of what the divine is inevitably about to disperse. So like I was saying with the Eight of Wands, it's like it's coming. The question is, are you even ready for the magnitude in which it's the magnitude in which it is coming? You know, like how grand is the thing that what you've been manifesting, consider, has been so in an old contractual form where your perspective was a little bit more skewed, certainly more limited, particularly even to any definite confirmation of your manifestation ability in the first place. You know, maybe you've had some small some maybe subtle confirmations here and there. Okay, because this is creative energy with the Eight of Wands, and I just got chills. It's something about the turnaround time. Ooh, I'm getting chills. It's something about the turnaround time of your manifestations. First of all, the magnitude in which they're about to be coming in. Like I said, if you've been praying, wishing, hoping, preparing, working towards things for years of your life, maybe for lifetimes, if you can get into that, and it's been done so in almost this like this cycle of deferment, you know, or yeah, like a deferred dream, or you know what I mean, like a deferred return or outcome. It's like things have kind of almost been stored up somewhere to the point where, you know how you could be manifesting something and it takes so long and you like, all right, well maybe I need to pivot, readjust my intentions or my ambition and go for something else. As for some, you may have done that. Meanwhile, you could have forgotten about some things that were already underway that, you know, because of the slow pace, Knight of Pentacles, of the materialization of those things. Now, what you're about to experience is perhaps even all at once. Everything that you've worked for, that you've co-created with the universe, just descending upon your reality. And for many of us, if not all of us, in some way, shape, or form, even the best of us, for sure, you have no point of reference on, and up until perhaps even right now, as it's in process, have not even had the expanded capacity to fathom this delivery, this massive delivery, let alone to, you know, have the open heart and mind and willingness to fully receive it and embrace it. So this is so interesting. So it's like there's a big delivery coming, a massive delivery, and all of these wands, this is all energy, you know, that's coming all at once to some place that you've already made yourself quite comfortable, maybe even complacent in. And it could be a shock to the senses. We're embodying the feeling of it energetically, and, you know, in the way that the body is responding by way of anxiety and eagerness, or, you know, whatever that emotion is that you may feel that I'm picking up on. That's like the way the body is already kind of like, you know, starting to percolate in a sense, because your consciousness knows, or your subconscious maybe knows, maybe your supreme speaking to your consciousness, knows that something big is underway that you're getting ready to prepare for. But the preparation, I feel, still doesn't even match the magnitude of the delivery itself. It's like you ordered a couch, but and you made space. Like maybe you got rid of your old couch and you've made space for, you've cleaned up, under that, where that couch used to be, vacuum, whatever. And you made space for this new thing that's coming in, of which you expect. But what you don't expect is the love seat that they might send you just for being a value customer. You know what I mean? Like something extra. Maybe you don't even have space for a love seat, or you certainly didn't prepare space. So it feels like something that's incoming, although, there are some ways that there's been preparation, and even some ways that the divine is helping to prepare us, even despite ourselves, our own resistances, that I feel still is going to be a shock, still is going to feel somewhat overwhelming. Yeah, somewhat overwhelming. Let me get one more on this. Even if it's not a thing or something material, like I said, this upgrade in energy is supercharging. Here's the other thing. This is what I really sensed, and I'm thankful for being brought back to it. It's I think I started it, but like the turnaround time of your manifestation, because I got on the old stuff coming in and that being overwhelming. But what you may not be holistically prepared for, which there will be grace for adjustment, is the magnitude of manifestation power that you have now on this other side of this transition. It already exists, but something tells me that the evidence of it is going to be so much more, what's the right word? Astounding, quite honestly, that as soon as you say something, whereas you could have been put years in the making to bring to life one thing, or you could have, put a lot of energy and effort and time, maybe have your own practices of manifesting things materially, where it's like all of that effort and all of those strategies and tactics, for some at least, maybe for all. So you really should watch what your intentions are. But at least for some, particularly, that have done a lot of cleansing and clearing to receive this privilege, you're gonna cut all that in half, to the point where you would want to be mindful, extremely mindful, what you speak into existence, because there's no discrimination on that activation or that turnaround. Just as soon as you say something, you could be bringing it to life, in a matter of minutes or moments, comparatively to the slow pace that we're used to. So now is the time to be very sure to really refine your manifestations, and refine. Well, I mean, we've done that a lot through, at this point, like I said, you just waiting for things to materialize on account of what's already been put in. But this is like the what can I say? What's the word? The foreshadowing, of how this is, because while you're managing what you've brought into existence, you have to also, you get to also be mindful that now you're wielding a power that, because you may think that, oh, this is just because I've been putting in work all this time or whatever, and that may be true, that everything is kind of, just finally being released in the time that it is. But the forward movement, the foreshadowing of this, is how your activation is now enhanced in such a way where whatever you speak or whatever you say or whatever your intentions are have a higher potential at a faster rate of being made manifest. And for most, that seems like a real good deal. But then really maybe go through the closets of your mind, and really make sure you have, as I was saying earlier, like transitions your closet to the most present season so that you're not still trying to, even your subconscious current isn't still manifesting on old, outdated contracts and agreements or desires that you really don't want anymore. And now here they are, and you have to deal with it. Maybe in some ways it's really not that big of a deal. It might not be, it might not be that serious, but what if it is, though? So again, as I was saying before, you'd be much better off really focusing your energy on the things that you can clear out, cleanse, streamline, so that when this surge takes full effect, you don't have to be worried about creating circumstances, situations, things, or scenarios that are unfavorable because you've kind of done the work to cleanse out the disfavor from your system. What's that? Yeah, look at this. Oh my goodness. That's so confirming to me. And here is this, expectation at a distance. So, considerably, but I'm telling you, it's closer than what you think. And that's going to be the new normal, perhaps forever now. On the flip side, it has the same effect, which is why I'm stressing the fact of really being clear about your intentions and what you desire to bring to life, because those that have the tendency to create on a lower frequency will also, that's why I was saying maybe it is a universal upgrade, like without prejudice, because if you are creating disfavorable things, by your intentions and your ambitions, that's going to be accelerated as well, to you, straight to sender, not to anyone else, no other destination. Like I was saying here, it's like it's coming to you. Whatever you put out is coming to you, and whatever you continue to put out there, you own it, so that's the other side. That's like the word of caution. But for those that are really focused on the highest frequency of creativity, it is good news. It's also a great responsibility that none of us has any point of reference for that's breathing in this walk of life. Nobody, like I said, you might have had a few moments in time, if you're particularly attractive energetically, where something works out exactly to your favor of which you projected it to be so. But it's not it, and maybe a few of those times it may have almost seemed like an immediate or quick turnaround, which seems miraculous, right? But imagine a new normal being instantaneous results. Imagine that, like everything that you are projecting right now becomes an instant, or appears or materializes almost instantly. That could be a gift and a curse, honestly. That could be a gift and a curse. And that might be like just another one of those wheat and chaff circumstances where some people are really going to, again, harness that frequency for their best or for the greatest good of all, and do something productive and prosperous and prosper on account of it. And some people really might fall victim, to their own words, and at an even faster rate than ever before. It's literally like having a magic wand. Look at this. Would you look at this? What is she holding but a freaking wand with a reef on it? Or he. I think technically it's a he, but I always see this card as a she, personally. Yes. Like, a lot of responsibility, but a lot of potential for success. Because you may even become a spectacle on account of your abilities and your power, your influence, your craft. And maybe, because I just got a flash, maybe, I don't know, that wouldn't really make it a liberal thing then, because I was going to say maybe it's a specific power that's almost like unique to what you are, what your design of creativity is. So maybe it's not like I want a cold drink and here it appears in my hand. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some levels to this or some stipulations that, as I've said, I couldn't know because there's no point of reference in this waking life. But whatever it is, if wielded responsibly, there is no limitation to the success and the prosperity that could come, that could literally be attracted to your passion. But what I was going to say is that, you may become a spectacle or a point of reference. And so that's why, the integrity is key, which I've been talking about a lot in other readings. The integrity piece is key, of which I think this time has been happening for the universe to kind of like keep you honest, to help you flesh out, those things that aren't in alignment with your highest integrity. Because once you on display, not only do you have kind of bear a responsibility for what you create and what you bring to life, but also how that makes an impact or an influence on others. Now, people can do what they want to do. They have that choice and they are responsible for their choices. But I feel like some elevated, responsibility as well, not necessarily for the choices that other people make, but for the influence that you make on them. You know how it said, with to whom much is given, much is required. So there's that. This is so interesting. Queen of Pentacles. There it is. And honestly, it kind of flipped around. So it literally could be a word of caution again, that this is a power that can make or break you. It can be prosperous or it can be depleting. It's just really on account of your dedication, your commitment, your honesty, your integrity, your focus. Man, that's just so interesting to me, because it's like, if most people have given the choice, you know, or given the offer to have like some type of like creative superpower, you know, where it's just some invincibility, and like I said, like in what you create or the time in which you manifest, you would be like, hell yeah, just as quickly as you would say yes if somebody offered you a genie in a lamp, you know, like, hell yeah, I want 3 wishes, or, you know, whatever. But we know how tricky that can be. You know, you gotta form those words and those requests just right, that petition just right, or you might mess around with exactly what you said, you know. But in, you know, in the legends of genie lamp stories, usually, you know, that wish or that petition is extremely vulnerable to misinterpretation of what the spirit of the person was really desiring. So oh man, this is crazy. So it's like, you know, you would be careful what you ask for, what you wish for, even to have this power at all. You know, it may, I'm sure it has its perks. It absolutely does, but the temperance that you have to maintain for your own good, let alone for others, that's definitely the exchange rate, you know. Like it's a high price. Moon card, I'm gonna take that. 119 on the clock, 911 backwards. Yes, like, this is so mystical, it's so obscure. Like, you've never been this way before, you've never possessed this frequency of energy, you know. Like, you really, it could even evoke fear of doing or saying, like, that's the other way it could go, where you could be imparted this great gift and begin to like recoil into yourself for fear of like misusing it, you know, or saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing, or bringing to life something that you really didn't mean to, you know. So there's another word of caution. Don't let yourself fall into that, because it's like, then you miss the novelty of the gift itself. And that would be unfortunate as well. One thing, well, I can't say that. Let's go. Well, a couple more, and then I'm out of here. Ooh, Chariot, I love it. You are built for this, though. For those that it resonates with, you were chosen. You have been trained. You've been tried and true. Built for this power. Disciplined, yeah, for success in this regard. So that is what would ultimately help navigate, you know, the terrain, even when, you know, like I said, there's no point of reference here. You may not know what's admissible or not at first. You know, you may not know, like, at first you may actually feel like this can't be right, you know, like this shouldn't be normal or natural, you know. So that could also project fear as well. But like I said, like if you really, if you consider and maybe even reflect upon your training in the trenches when you were just willy-nilly waving your little wand everywhere, you know, maybe the point of reference is also in taking inventory of what you've created in the present moment, and then perhaps like refining your what's the right word, like your strategies or something like that, so that you know you're on the right track to some degree. But there's also a part of it, like it or not, that's going to have to kind of be left to experience, maybe even to chance, trial and error even, because you've never been this way before. That's a passage in the Bible about, shoot, I can't remember if it's the because I mixed up the time frame of crossing over last time, but the point was made in the message that I was given. It still makes sense, but I want to make sure I'm saying it right. To who was, yeah, it was Joshua. So comes from Joshua 3:4. So this is not the Israelites escaping bondage in Egypt and crossing over into the wilderness ultimately when they were supposed to be on their way to the promised land. This is actually when that second, that next generation was actually crossing over or preparing to cross over the Jordan River, as opposed to the Red Sea, which is what I crisscrossed last time. The Jordan River. And it was, it was a new territory to trek, and it was also a new territory to take once they crossed over. So they were being urged pretty much to follow the Ark of the Covenant to guide them into this, unfamiliar space. And that's the best you can do, is to just continue to defer to your supreme source, your supreme self, the highest frequency of tension that you can aspire to align with, integrate with, and of that, like I said, you've been doing that. If you weren't doing that, then this transfer of energy wouldn't even be coming so certainly as it is. And it's inevitable. This is happening. This is not a drill. This is happening. I was not led to that solar flare that is literally active today, coincidentally, at all. You know what I mean? It wasn't coincidentally at all. It was purposeful, like to be on notice. Incoming. It's coming. What you've been anxious and eagerly awaiting is coming in a form that you could have never prepared for. But the confirmation and perhaps the comfort is that this is all you've been preparing for all this time. So when you were getting hit left and right, just trying to keep a focus on the seemingly simple things to bring into your auric field, that was your training. because you could have veered off the path and been distracted, could have been provoked to do, immoral things, unethical things, or self-sabotaging things, but you didn't. So that's the training here. If you can stay the course, Six of Wands, if you could stay the course in that regard, the success is inevitable. The covering, the new covenant, that's what this new covenant is. Like, that's what I was trying to get to, is something about, like there's a new agreement between divine and creation of limitations or lack thereof. It's not under the old regime anymore. It's not. But like I said, you've been trained for this. Let me see. One more and then I'm out. Oh man, I'm way over an hour. My bad. Woo! Look at the strength. You've been trained. And also with the strength, it's an indication of continued endurance, resilience. There's nothing to worry about. You got this. You got this. And the selectivity that has gone into dispersing this frequency of power, because like I said, I feel like there's something about, if you're going to be on some low vibe and stuff, you're going to be given liberty to create that for yourself as well. But there's a different level to this profitable and prosperous creativity ability that's being dispersed, that's different from that. It's a different trust, literally, Two of Cups, that is being established there. And it's because of the strength and strong will that you've already exhibited, which indicates to the divine that you are a qualified candidate to continue in that regard. And so all you have to do is stay committed to that agreement, to that covenant, that you won't abuse your power, knowingly. Maybe you might have some refinements and readjustments on the way to figure out what's, what, I can't say what should be done, because that's not my place to say, but I guess what's prosperous for you, because I think that will be very personal to everyone. But you won't abuse your power. You won't use it to harm anyone else. You won't use it to, you won't allow your ego to be inflated by it. Like all the things that kind of drag you to hell, to that lower nature. This is what that balance is here. It's like really what I was saying is temperance, like keeping both energies, like your spiritual self, your carnal nature, and of course the humanity, that aligns the two, in balance, in check. Which means that you are going to be able to use that power for carnally satisfying endeavors. Why not? That's one of the perks of the gig, you know what I mean, so to speak. But that there also should be an equal, if not even greater focus on creativity for the good of all. Like the same things that you were looking to build and to bring to life in the purest frequency when you didn't have any evidence that you actually could, or very little evidence or even support to do so, seemingly. that cultivation of consciousness is what's to be transferred over, and the only difference is it's just going to be enhanced and expanded and accelerated. That's it. The dream still gets to be the dream. The highest intention is still maintained, but it gets to be even more refined now that the limitations are taken off. And then when I said limitations, I got the sense of like training wheels coming off your bike, like now it's up to you to stay balanced so you don't fall over, but you will, you can. I believe in you. I absolutely do. And apparently the divine does too. So let's see what's at the bottom so I can get out of your way. The Two of Swords. Yeah, I don't think you see this coming. I don't think you see this coming, but like I said, it's something that's going to bring some satisfaction, some fulfillment. Well, you don't see it coming even as I'm saying it. Ooh, King of Pentacles. I like the side of that. And the King of Cups. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, something that you're going to really, it's an era of life of life that is going to be really satisfying and gratifying. That's what I feel like the Cups and the Pentacles are. And where you need to be nurtured or nourished, I feel like you will be, to sustain again that integrity, or even at this point, bringing it back to the present, your patience, because it's cool to say all of this, like, get ready, it's on the way, to be, but it doesn't really feel real until it is, so even as I'm saying it as a point to bring comfort and confirmation and encouragement and all that good stuff and increase the faith, I know it's still hard to really fathom, especially something, again, that we don't have a point of reference for. You don't have a clear view to guarantee is in store. It's actually very distorted except for what you will yourself to project. But one thing you absolutely know is that the past is done. There's not much from the past that you can refer to. I mean, not necessarily refer. You can refer to the past and reflect, but there's not much that you can rely on of the past. And that makes for, a shaky situation, because you, at least when you're dealing with the past, you know what to expect. Even with old agreements and contracts and covenants that were disappointing, at least you knew to expect a certain level of disappointment or constraint or imbalance and unfairness. But what I'm projecting here, there's no reference point for this. It doesn't even make sense when you really look at the landscape of the horizon as it is. But yet I'm telling you to maintain that Three of Wands energy. Keep that same energy of great expectations, because at the moment that perhaps you least expect it, or maybe before the moment that you actually expect it, is when your relief is going to arrive. Yep. All you have to do is just be still and know. All right. And I do pray Godspeed and strength and power and fortitude in that regard, because I know it's much easier said than done. But like I said, you were trained for this. You were built for this. So if you can't do it, it can't be done. So let the champagne bottle pop. I'ma take it to the top. Just start celebrating now if you can. All right. So anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.